Have you ever thought, I wish I could forget a game so I can experience it again? Undertale is a game that is near and dear to a lot of people. Known for its excellent writing, endearing characters, and memes, it completely captured the gaming community. But not for me. I didn't play this game until years later, only knowing a few spoilers here and there. I knew the Omega Flowey's, the killer spare mechanic, and the Megalovanias, but nothing enough to form a proper opinion about the game. It wasn't until a close friend of mine who stands the game, yeah, I'm calling you out, recommended the game to me, and I finally tried it out. And so, I finally gave it a shot in 2019. You see, I wanted to make this a shared experience, and he loved backseating this game, and I loved the advice he gave me. So, I only played this game every time I visited his home. I got the game on the Nintendo Switch, a mistake I know. And now I can say it was one of the gaming experiences I've ever had. If I said that the controls were good, I wouldn't be right because my left stick drift wouldn't let me. I remember falling into the underground, meeting Flowey, fuck him by the way, killing the first frog I saw, getting illusion of choice by Toriel if I wanted a butterscotch or a cinnamon pie, and leaving the ruins after a nice long hug. What awaited me after the ruins was the end of my nice vacation because it was time to pack my bags and go home. We both got to get back to work once this long weekend was over, right? So, I'd play the game another day. You might be asking, how long did it take you to beat this 7-ish hour game? Well, the answer might surprise you. You see, problem was that we lived in different states, and I'd only come around to visit about every half year or so, to see a bunch of friends. Once all said and done, I played the game like an hour or so every time we met up. I'll get pranked by Sam, see my favorite visual gag in the game, go through Papyrus's ingenious flawless puzzles, somehow glitch my way through Grillby's bar, and earned my right to call the Skellabone Man my friend. Then it was time to be shipped back home so I could get to my 9 to 5 on time. When I had entered Waterfall, I'd forgotten everyone else. Papyrus may say that it felt like it was just yesterday, but for me, it was literally half a year ago. All I knew was that someone was after my ass as if I was the protagonist in a horror visual novel. Dodging spears left and right was difficult, but I had just beaten Cuphead with another close friend of mine, and I ain't no gamer reporter, so I felt... With the guidance of my friends, I obtained one of the best items in the game, the legendary artifact. Oh, wait a second. It's gone. We all know the true treasure is the residue we got along the way. The dog residue left in its place easily became one of my favorite items in gaming. Fans will understand. Feeling well equipped, I saved Monster Kid. Wait, is that really their name? Whatever. And I reached the end of Waterfall to fight the legendary Undyne. At this point, I started to enjoy sparing people more because it was a fun puzzle instead of just doing damage. I also have a penchant for liking calm characters who break character to say, fuck it, we ball. That's why I love Fugo from Golden Wind. I'm sure he'll stay relevant. Anyway, after who knows how many attempts of not understanding how to beat her, I finally whipped out the Joseph Joestar secret technique, and I finally made it to Hotland, but we'll save it for another time. Months later, and I finally get to meet Alphys and her bombastic robot Mettaton. Little did I know how many bombs would actually be showing up. I still remember the bomb defusal section, the baking contest, the play, and who could forget the unforgettable Heat's Flamesman. I remember this section feeling a bit long, was definitely a sizable chunk of the game, but after making it through MTT Resort and finishing the core, I finally fought Mettaton and flipped his switch.
Oh, yes!
The goal was simple. JoJo pose as much as possible to get as many style points as possible, and it was a tense match, and after a long standoff, I was finally able to take the top ratings and take center stage. Well, maybe some other time. Fast forward another few months, and I finally get a proper computer and mic, and with the power of modern technology, I was able to stream the rest of the game on Discord. I may have had issues with my stream here and there, and maybe there was no audio going through, so my friend was watching a muted stream, but he had the knowledge and memory to know what every byte sounded like to the point where he didn't even need it. Visiting was no longer needed, and I could finally play to the end. The last part was memorable. I could say the entire game is memorable, but after playing the game on and off for a few months, I'd be lying if I said that. The 7-hour playthrough spanned over 2 years, and the journey was coming to an end. It was a face-off against the king, Asgore, and failure wasn't an option. Actually, I failed a lot of times. Mercy wasn't an option. I had no idea how to spare him. At this point, I've only killed a handful of monsters in the beginning and tried my best to spare everyone going forward, but it was impossible. Eventually, I made the difficult choice to commit regicide and ended his life. Well, actually, Flowey got to it first. And so, the little knowledge of Undertale that I knew finally came to play. My game crashed, my save got deleted, and Fly said that it was his turn at the controller. I knew the drill. I've seen this boss fight blow up in 2015. I could take him. These were the last words of a Nintendo Switch player. The boss fight took quite a while. I remember playing till the wee hours in the morning. To call it a chaotic was an understatement. Fly looks as fucked up as I remembered, and was really trying hard to bring the hell in bullet hell. Luckily, with the power of the real treasures we made along the way, I was able to beat Flowey once and for all. Kinda. Now that I was streaming with modern technology, I hopped straight into a replay to get the pacifist route. For those who don't know, if you get through the game without killing a single monster and completing key, very necessary events, you can get access to the pacifist route, which adds roughly an hour and a half to the game. My friend told me it was just some extra scenes and more characterization, so it was worth doing. Because I had killed a few monsters in the ruins my first playthrough, I had to start over from the very beginning. Back to the ruins we go. Given that the previous playthrough for this 7-hour game took 2 years, I remembered nearly nothing from the beginning all the way to just before Asgore's fight. Aside from a few core memory jokes, I had forgotten all the witty one-liners, all the boss fight details, and all the friends I had made along the way. Even the hottest character in the game. The only thing I remembered was the joy of experiencing this game for the first time. I remember laughing at Papyrus's puzzles without remembering his puzzles. I remember feeling accomplished getting past the fish lady the first time without remembering how her fight went. And I remember enjoying Mettaton's many events without remembering a single minigame. Up until the fight with Asgore, all I remembered were good vibes and good times. It was the first time I forgot a game I enjoyed this much, and I was excited to experience it again. Now you could say, no, this isn't the same because the pacifist route is different, but everything leading up to it is pretty much the same, so I'm just gonna act like it is. On the pacifist route, I laughed at the human-shaped lamp again, the many puzzles of Papyrus, seeing Sans twice in the same map. It was a great time, but to get the pacifist route, I needed to do the juicy bits. It was time to get boned. I headed to Papyrus's place after his fight and learned all I needed about him, enough to never properly forget him again. Things like his long sink, race car bed, the extremely charming date we had together. I cried my heart out when fan favorite character Egg finally made its debut. Alas, it was not meant to be. And we departed his home, leaving the bone zone and into the friend zone. After getting the legendary item once more, I proceeded to Waterfall. Things weren't too different, but seeing Monster Kid, yeah, that's officially his name in the credits, fall every time he showed up on screen was still pretty funny. Yeah, maybe I'm evil, but we'll save that for another route. The core memory formed in this area for me though was the epic journey I had with the bird that carries you over a disproportionately small gap. Wow, bird that carries you over a disproportionately small gap was playing in the background. I don't know how I forgot this the first time because it was the definition of unforgettable. I beat Undyne and made it to Hotland, but after pouring some water on her, I was told to visit her at her place. It seemed like the second date was necessary for the pacifist route, and things were getting fishy. I didn't have too strong opinions of Undyne at this point. I remember liking her due to her outburst, but this date changed her from being forgettable to one of, if not my favorite character. From how friendly and kind she was to Papyrus to her collective reactions to being left alone together thanks to the Underground's finest wingman. He can fly! And the extremely awkward cooking session we had, which resulted in her house burning down. It was an emotional roller coaster, and the moment of Papyrus jumping out the window has been seared into my memory. In Hotland, things progressed similarly. Hotland and the core have usually been a part of the game that I felt dragged on a little bit, as I mentioned before. I don't really have much to say other than the fact that I will never forget Heat's Flamesman's name ever again, as per his request. And that phone call in MTT Resort. Man, that damn phone call. Whoa, a fancy restaurant? Yeah. Who needs that? Your friends are great chefs. Well, maybe our cooking abilities aren't exactly perfect. Nah, they totally are. Eat up, punk. You hear this? Spaghetti's throw up against the receiver. Mettaton was still as cool and fashionable as the first time, but I was more looking forward to the parts that came after because this was when I would get locked into the pacifist route. When reaching Asgore's throne, there was always one part that really stuck with me. It was a lead-up which detailed the story of a young man who fell into the underground, made friends with the king and the queen's son, Azriel, and unfortunately passed away. Each step I took in New Home felt meaningful and emotionally impactful. The story continued, using the soul of the human, Asriel crossed the boundary and escaped the underground to give his friend a proper burial in his home village. Treated like a monster, the villagers attacked the beast, and Asriel made it back to the underground, his home on his last breath before turning to dust. To this day, the walk up to the throne really sticks with me, even from my first playthrough, though this was right before I started Pacifist, so it was one of the few things I didn't forget. Before engaging in the final battle, I was told to head back a little, take a look around and something might happen. Lo and behold, I get a call from Undyne about delivering a letter. She had some words for Alphys, who has a super crush on her, and I need to get in on the deets. Unfortunately, Alphys thought I wrote the letter when I delivered it to her. What's written on it? I don't know. Undyne said she'd kill me. Whatever it was, it led to date number 3. And where was the perfect dating spot? The dumpster. Here we talked about our love of anime, her insecurities, our love of anime. Then Undyne came, slam dunked Alphys into the trash can, and Undyne and I talked about anime after sending Alphys off to train. When I got back to the lab, Alphys' training was done, and she was also done keeping secrets. I gained access to her elevator, which led to her underground lab and transitioned this game to a horror story. The lighting was ever dark. Ghost-like beings would pop up from nowhere and engage in combat with me, having no chance of killing them. Luckily, the ghosts are kinda nice, and the lab was stocked full of chisps. While navigating the lab, I slowly found out the truth behind the experiments, the past, and determination. There were details regarding Asgore, Toriel, Asriel, and a guy named Dennis. Details of the past were reiterated with more detail than before, leading up to Asriel's death and beyond. Thus began the experiments to put human souls into monsters to wage war on the surface. Unfortunately, the results of the experiments only led to the ghosts, which I actually realized are amalgamations of several monsters I had seen before. Failure after failure led Alphys to conduct the final experiment, to force a soul into a golden flower with determination. Although this was a success, it was said in one last panel that the flower had disappeared, but we all know where it went. One very not accidental elevator crash later, I found myself before the king's throne once more, ready to fight Asgore and later Omega Flowey once more. You see, I was told that the pacifist ending would add more content. What I didn't know is that it had an entirely different boss. Asgore gets bitch slapped by Toriel, his ex. We see all our friends reuniting, and we talk about how friendship is the future. It was all thanks to the words of a little flower. Fuck. I was not prepared for Flowey. Hell, I was prepared for a Mega Flowey, but what I was in for was the climax of not just the pacifist route, but the climax of my last 2 years playing this game. I was fighting Flowey, not just any Flowey, the true Flowey who bears the name Asriel Dreamer. Our dear old buddy who we vicariously became friends with, the being who tried to kill us frame 1. The monstrosity at the end of the neutral ending became a god incarnate, and they were after my head. With my friends in his grasp, all I could do is convince him that we could be friends, and this didn't need to happen. However, I was too weak, and after several blows, I died. But was brought back with determination. Quoting the ever so timely Sora,
"My friends are my power."
I bring each of them back from the brink. Alphys and Undyne, Sans and Papyrus, Asgore and Toriel. With the power of friendship, we were able to bring Asriel back and accept our friendship and our inevitable departure. I give him one last hug. He breaks the barrier. We all leave. The monsters were finally able to see the sun for the first time after arriving at the surface, and they had a long list of things to do. They no longer needed to be dreamers, but achievers. Toriel asked us what we wanted to do. I wanted to stay with all my friends this time. Didn't want to forget like I did last time, forget the last 2 years that is, so we hold hands and begin our new lives. Just like in the beginning of the game ends with a cinnamon butterscotch pie by our bedside. Just kidding, I'm fucking evil. I did the genocide route before playing the game all over again to get B-roll. Friends, I killed them all and I do it all again! Thank you for watching. This was my first ever scripted video and I hope that you guys all enjoyed it. Undertale holds a special place in my heart, even making it into my top 10 favorite games of all time, and this experience was definitely a reason why. Being able to play such a masterpiece twice, fresh, is not an experience many can say they have. Is it just because of my bad memory? Did I have amnesia? Maybe. It could be, but I don't regret it one bit. Let me know how your experience with Undertale was, or if you ever experienced playing a game twice like this before. If you enjoyed this video, then please leave a like or consider subscribing. I might make more content like this in the future. But until then, I hope you have a nice one. Peace!